Speak to Amendment 208D standing in my name, and I'm grateful to the noble lords who have lent their support to it. In my speech at second reading, I said I considered that the fact that there were still prisoners serving indeterminate sentences for public protection was a shame to this country. But I don't propose to elaborate on that today, although I would like to associate myself with the remarks made by noble lords in the debate so far. Some amendments in this group are probing amendments, but this one, 208D, actually seeks to change the law and in a way helpful to the government. It does not concern those who are in prison under an IPP, only those living in the community on licence, that is, those who have already been found by the parole board to be safe to be released without presenting a threat to public safety. Now, at the moment, these persons are potentially subject, as noble lords have described, are potentially subject to a lifelong licence. They can be recalled to prison for a breach of the licence conditions at any point while the licence is in force. The only way the licence can be terminated is for the individual to apply to the parole board for a licence review after the expiry of the qualifying period, currently set at 10 years. The government have stated that they wish those reviews to be automatic in future, not requiring an application from the prisoner. My noble friend Lord Wolfson of Tredegar said on the 21st of July, in response to a question for written answer from the noble Lord Blunkett, from September this year, officials will refer automatically to the parole board the case of every offender serving the IPP sentence who has become eligible to apply for termination of his or her IPP licence. But there is a problem. Close examination of the current legislation makes clear that the review can only be undertaken on the prisoner's application. The government cannot, therefore, make an automatic referral to the parole board without the prisoner's active cooperation, which somewhat holds the policy of automaticity. This amendment, 208D, addresses that deficiency by amending the Crime Sentences Act 1997 to require the Secretary of State to make an automatic referral to the parole board at the end of the qualifying period, and if the application is dismissed, annually thereafter. The referral does not depend on the acquiescence or collaboration of the prisoner, so it allows the government to do what they have said they want to do, and I hope it will command their support. What it does not do is to prejudge in any way the decision the parole board makes on that referral. The decision whether to terminate the licence remains entirely in their hands. Noble lords may wonder why a prisoner who is entitled to a review at the end of the qualifying period should be slow to make one on his or her own initiative. In other words, why is there a need for automaticity? And it certainly seems strange not to apply for a termination of the licence. Remember, as noble lords have explained, a person on licence under an IPP who commits an offence for which an ordinary criminal might receive a short determinate sentence can be recalled to prison for an indeterminate term. But nonetheless, my lords, there are reasons why IPP prisoners do not apply for a termination of their licence. First of all, many do not know what the qualifying period is or what it means, and nobody is obliged to contact them to tell them. And there is evidence of confusion even amongst probation officers as to what the rules are. And many prisoners out on licence will not in any event be in contact regularly with a probation officer, since under the current system, while the licence lasts a minimum of 10 years, supervision can be terminated after 5. And finally, many IPP prisoners out on licence after that many years simply don't want to take the risk of re-engaging voluntarily with a criminal justice system they believe has treated them so unfairly. So automaticity is a good and necessary thing. The government agree, and I hope this amendment will pass. But there is one more part to the amendment, easily missed. I referred earlier to a qualifying period after which a review of the licence can be applied for, or if this amendment passes, will take place automatically. That qualifying period, as I said, is set by law at 10 years. The very last words of this amendment would have the effect of reducing the qualifying period to 5 years. That is not government policy as far as I know, and of course it is open to my noble friend to accept the part of the amendment dealing with automaticity while rejecting the reduction in the qualifying period. But I hope that noble lords will support me in pressing this on the government. For those IPP prisoners who received a short minimum term, the 10-year licence period is wholly disproportionate to the term that would have been attached to the equivalent determinate sentence had one been imposed instead of an IPP. And it can hardly be argued to be necessary for public protection. As I said earlier, under this amendment, the decision whether or not to terminate a licence remains with the parole board. Reducing the qualifying period to 5 years simply reduces the length of time after which an individual out on licence is entitled to a review. These people will be out on licence, as I say, with the approval of the parole board and will have shown themselves safe in the community for 5 years. The number of IPP prisoners recalled after 5 years out on licence is in any case very small. And furthermore, the latest data available shows that no IPP prisoner committed a serious further offence 5 years or more post-release. And as I said earlier, their supervision can be, and often is, terminated after 5 years. So everything, my lords, I believe, argues in favour of a reduction in the qualifying period to 5 years. And I hope the government will accept that part of the amendment as well. Because what a person in that position, with a track record of living for 5 years safely in the community, needs is the opportunity that we wish for all prisoners, that is, to serve their sentence and return to the community and make a useful contribution to their own and to others' lives.